All right, so this is the monumental moment of my YouTube channel. And to be honest, this might be the reason why I even started my channel because today we have an analyst, the most respected and fashionable analyst on Wall Street, accurately calling out some of the biggest names that are being traded on the market right now from very early days, such as Tesla from 2008, 9, and Apple since all the way back from the iPhone launch. And since 2023, he was bullish on Palantir when Palantir was basically a nobody. Also got to mention his famous quote that was right on the money, that this is an AI party that goes until 4 a.m. and we're just sitting at 10 p.m. now. Everyone, this is Managing Director and Senior Equity Research Analyst from Wedbush Securities. Mr. Dan Ives, how's everything going?
Yeah, good, man. Great to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks
you.
for the intro.
Thank you. I know you're a very busy guy, so let's just kick this off right away. So, I think it's important to touch upon TikTok real quick because there's this breaking news that just came out like 30 minutes before our interview. The headline says, Donald Trump says he's open to Elon Musk buying TikTok if he wanted to. So, just to get context for the Korean audience, TikTok is a shorts video platform owned by the Chinese parent company, ByteDance. There are about 170 million American users. That is about 50% of the entire population. And there was a bipartisan support to ban this platform from the state due to national security reasons. But President Trump announced a 90-day delay for the ban. So it seemed like there was some talks that was going on behind the stage. And during your CNBC interview last week, that was in Milan, I believe, you said that there is a possibility that an American corporate leader, such as Elon Musk, may be the potential buyer. So please tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is like TikTok, because of the ByteDance ownership and the law that was passed, Trump essentially gave a lifeline, let's call it 75 days, to find either a buyer or a JV, like a joint venture sort of partner. Mm-hmm. I mean, in my view, like whoever gets picked, it has to be handpicked, not just from ByteDance, but from Beijing.
Right.
There's only one person in the world that gets handpicked from Beijing, it's Musk. And I think essentially also Musk's relationship with Trump would make him the perfect potential buyer for TikTok. I also think it's possible that like Ellison from Oracle is heavily involved in the deal. And the reality is like TikTok's not going to get banned. A deal is going to get done. It's going to have to get approved, let's say by, CFIUS or some of the U.S. sort of oversight. But in my opinion, it speaks to Musk is going to have just a bigger and bigger part, not just of Trump in terms of the White House, but just tentacles that's going to go many different directions.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, based on this breaking news, it seems like you were right on the spot again. It seems like Elon Musk might be really the potential buyer for this platform. And
yeah, I mean, look, I think if I was doing odds, 3-1 odds that he wins. I mean, like Oracle, could clearly be part of it. I mean, Microsoft maybe 5-1 odds. But the point is, like, look, Musk, the best bet he ever made was on Trump.
Right.
I mean, it's a bet for the ages, right?
Precisely. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So this new administration is just going so fast-paced without any remorse. It's going to be so dynamic, and you got to pay attention to. Otherwise, you're just going to miss out. Yeah.
Also, but even look at like the announcement with Masa and Oracle and OpenAI. Like, what does that mean for Palantir?
Exactly.
For Microsoft? I mean, like in this administration, it's also like deregulatory. I mean, FTC Khan, she's done. Clearly pro crypto. So you're gonna have to start to like think about, okay, what are the second, third derivatives? Like, what does it mean for like autonomous when it comes to Tesla?
Right.
These are all the things I think are going to be playing out.
All right. So let's get into the stock discussion. So you've been accurately calling out those biggest names. And one of the things that most stood out to me personally was that you were just consistent with your original thesis, regardless of the up and downs of the stocks. Especially, we all know that Tesla was notoriously volatile. And I'm sure along the way, there was so many bears and haters, giving you all this attacks, blames, sending emails, calling into your office and whatnot. So first of all, I'd like to please educate us on how to spot on those historical transformative techs like you did with Tesla and Apple and Palantir now. And secondly, how do you maintain your composure through all the bears and haters along the way? How do you do that?
I think like part of it is like just doing it 25 years covering tech.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been through so many ups and downs, and I think what it does is like it solidifies or like your confidence in terms of the work that you do. You have to be able to just navigate the volatility. And sometimes like stocks go the wrong way, right? Like if a Palantir goes from like 25 and like they give conservative guidance, stock goes 20 and it's down 25%. Everyone's like, worst call ever, this, does that. It's very easy as like an analyst to just like throw in the towel. Apple, I mean, it really started 2007, like being at the iPhone launch with Jobs, our view, like it was going to change the world.
Yeah.
A year later, financial crisis happens, and everyone's like, oh, this is just going to be like a 1 year, because it was actually only AT&T launch. Financial crisis, what about BlackBerry? This caused a disaster. And obviously, you know, the rest is history.
Right.
But Tesla's another one. Like, I basically bet on Musk. It's my view, like, no different than like with Jensen on NVIDIA and Karp and Palantir. You're betting, like, a lot of times, like, on the individual. You're doing the work, and you don't get caught up as easy as it is. Some of the volatility, look, that's kind of, it creates the opportunities too.
Exactly, right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, those volatility could serve as a very good opportunity to, you know, DCA and buy more good assets in a very cheap price.
But also, look, it's like there's ones like people like, oh, I call like term like catch a falling knife, right? Like, it's like you buy, and look, that happens, of course, with certain names. But my view is like, even when you think about what's happened with Apple, it's very easy to get caught up in like, oh, China numbers, downgrades, stocks going, this team feels like a disaster.
Yeah.
My view is different. My view is like, we do our own channel checks, and I think like bark's worse than the bite. 2, 25% of the world is going to access AI through an Apple device.
Right.
So like, you could be wrong on a quarter or even for 6 months, but if you get the trend right, those are the historical kind of 10, 15, 20 baggers. I mean, Palantir is a good example. Like over the last year, like haters hate. They hate it as a teenager at 12. Despise it as a senior citizen at 80. Because, but a lot of times, like the bears, when they're in their caves, they can see, like they can't find AI in the spreadsheet.
Exactly, right. It's really hard to give valuations to that, and in order to do that, you just have to do a research and analyzing
and some of the parts, like you like for, let's say for Apple,
right?
If I have like 1.5 billion iPhones, 2.3 billion iOS devices, and as developers build more and more apps, what eventually do I think AI could result in terms of Apple's revenues? Could that increase 10 billion, 15 billion per year? What's the value of that? Like, what's the value of AI on a standalone basis for Apple? But it's a good example. Like, if you look at it in isolation, you don't see it. Like right now, if you look at Tesla autonomous, you can't find it in the spreadsheet.
Right.
But I believe autonomous worth $1 trillion of Tesla.
Okay, so let's talk about Tesla. So you're one of the few analysts, maybe the only analyst on Wall Street with a super long-term mindset. So I really wanted to ask you this question. So where do you see Tesla, Palantir, and NVIDIA in terms of market cap at 4 a.m. of this party? So with Tesla, have you tried to reflect valuations driven by Optimus or robotaxi fleet running at full capacity, for instance?
Yeah, so we don't, Optimus is incremental. Like Optimus, and I could argue Optimus could be 500 billion, 600 billion, incremental,
Yeah.
maybe even conservatively, but we don't even factor that in. When I look at autonomous, I think autonomous alone is worth $1 trillion to Tesla's valuation. Because Tesla's going to be less and less about like deliveries in terms of, quarter to quarter. You got 7 million vehicles on the road. Get that 10 million. What does FSD penetration look like? What the margin profile look like? But it's about where things are going. Like when I look out in the next 4 or 5 years, I think 10-15% of all cars are going to be autonomous.
Right.
Cybercab, what those fleets are going to do. And then what was the biggest thing in Tesla's way? Regulatory.
Exactly.
Now Trump, he has sleepovers in the White House, right? So the point is like that piece is going to go away.
Right. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting time for Tesla. And I think it's going to be really exciting for Palantir as well. So lately, there has been some speculations that Palantir might contribute to this new institution, Doge. Elon started following Palantir and Peter Thiel on X. And now David Sachs, one of Elon's original PayPal member, is now sitting as the AI czar. So where do you think Palantir is going to go? And you also said that Palantir has a potential to become the next Oracle. So please give us some color on that.
Yeah, and even on Palantir, I would view it a little differently. It's just like the AI innovation infrastructure has happened in the US. Palantir is going to play a key role. Just like Oracle and others. The government business, it is very underestimated what Palantir has done. Now they're taking that on AIP to the enterprise. But I believe Palantir is a good example. Like valuation, super expensive, in next year's numbers. I believe this could be the next Oracle, next Salesforce, where they're going. Because they have a unique and rare technology mode that no one else has. And and remember, they're doing this now. They're doing this with no direct sales force.
So do you think there's no competitors when it comes to Palantir's government?
I don't think when it comes to their core technology, all the work we've done, there's no true competitor.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I'm not saying like snowflake and around the edges and like there's competition. But in terms of end-to-end, what Palantir does, no one else could do.
Wow. I totally trust you because you're the one that did the research and all the observations by traveling all around the world, talking to these people that matter, that are in the industry, checking all the culture within the management. So yeah, I totally agree. I love it.
But it's like that's the stuff that you got to do, right? Like, it's
Exactly.
like if I just sat in New York in 50th floor of my office building, but are you okay? So you're doing you're talking to clients, but the reality is like our advantage over the decades has been the 3 million miles traveled, right? Like it's been, because if you don't see it for yourself, you miss it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, let's get into another name, led by quote unquote the godfather of AI, which you believe will hit 4 trillion this year, and I'm sure they're not stopping there. NVIDIA.
Demand the supply is 15-1 for their chips. And look, spend time with Jensen at CES. I actually think the reaction was like dramatically different than my view. Because like stock sold off. If you look, physical AI, autonomous, robotics, Blackwell, this is just the beginning of the AI revolution. And it goes back, like it was 9 p.m., now it's 10 p.m. Party ends at 4 a.m. And it's led by NVIDIA.
Right.
And I think it's another example of the street. You become so focused day to day, some article, delays here. There's always like noise.
Yeah.
You got to be able to see forest through trees.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of Jensen, during CES, I think it was after during the Q&A session with the analyst, and there was this notorious comment that just basically destroyed the entire quantum sector. And pretty much all the quantum related sector went down 40%.
Yep.
And I personally invest in IonQ, so I had
Yep.
to endure the pain, right? And Jensen was able to do that with just one single sentence. Quantum is 15 years away. What's your take on this? Are we really that far away?
But my view is, at scale, it's probably not 15 years. Maybe it's 6, 7 years, 8 years away. But it goes back to the whole, like, the reactions. Maybe like these stocks got overdone on the upside, but the reactions were overdone on the downside. Because when you're talking about these generational trends, I mean, think about like Bitcoin in 2013.
Exactly.
Like I'm just saying, it's very easy to get caught up in some of these trends, and I think they get overdone both on the upside as well as on the downside.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that was great insight, and I like to using your analogy. I think this is going to be really interesting. So the party will eventually be over at 4 a.m., but there are always this thing called after parties. So,
Well,
yeah, who are some potential players that might show up at the after parties? Like, well,
Yeah,
I would
but-
say
but-
quantum
but-
is definitely
but-
one of them.
But also, just to that point, like, this is a 6 to 8 year build out.
Uh-huh.
So when you think about that part, like, that's my view. Is like, it's a 6 to 8 year build out. It's $2 trillion of AI capex next 3 years. For every dollar spent on an NVIDIA chip, there's an $8-10 multiplier across the rest of the tech.
Right.
So when you start to think about it, just going to the part, it's like, whether it's quantum, whether it's nuclear, whether it's energy, grids, data center build out, you're essentially building out a new economy. And that's how you have to think about it in terms of where this is going.
Right. So yeah, it sounds like you kind of have to be optimistic about the future, but not in a naive way, but like based on your observation you make on those, management's exceptional execution and all the culture and everything.
And it goes back to like, it's $2 trillion of AI capex.
Right.
And
We're
you only
gonna
have
get chips on the robots in the future.
and
Right.
autonomous.
Right.
And just think about it, you only have 4% of enterprises that are going down the AI path so far. And that's only really in the US.
Right. Just
Forget,
in
and
US.
obviously some parts of Asia, but just think about like what's happening in Europe and around the world.
Yeah, we really got to think about that. It's only in US and it's already 2 trillion capex. So yeah, it's hard to
I'm
hard to
just saying
grasp.
that's how you have to think about where this is all headed.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying like, you go through periods where whether it's Trump head-ons, tariff negotiations, Fed, geopolitical, technicals, like look, it's not a straight line.
Right.
But when you think about who the winners are, and then even as it goes to like the software piece with names like Oracle, ServiceNow, Adobe.
Well, yeah, it seems like it's the key is consistency with your thesis, and I think that
And
was
doing the
one of
work,
main
and
reasons.
doing the work,
Mhm.
and doing the work, and not getting caught up in hysteria
And just use it as an opportunity to accumulate,
for the right names.
right, for the right names, right?
And that's always been our thesis.
Yeah. So that thesis, that consistency, I think is the main reason why you were able to accumulate all the fans around the world, including me. So
No, and it's great. Look, I'm just glad this worked out, and we'll
I'm honored.
Look, and it's it's also like for all the stuff that you do as well, like people, to all your listeners, it's trying to like synthesize
Right.
the themes
Hmm.
and where this is all going.
Yeah, I never talk about day-to-day news. I always talk about the long-term vision. I always talk about where this might go. I'm just being.
But that's
consistent with
but
myself
that's
as well.
how you have to think about it.
Yeah, especially when it comes to tech. Wow, that is really insightful. Right. It means the world to us that you've taken the time out to come up on the show and share your insights. Truly.
No, definitely. And thanks for everyone listening. It was great to be on.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Yeah,
See ya.
take care. Bye-bye.